It's been a discussion ever since the birth of runology and the birth of archaeology in the 19th century. Who is Thyra? The larger Jelling Stone is the most famous runestone in the whole world. It's also known as the birth certificate of Denmark. It's a really important monument for the Danish people. The text on the runestone says that King Harald had these monuments made in honor of his parents, Gorm the Old and Thyra. And he won for himself all of Denmark and Norway and made the Danes Christian. He's really one of the best known kings in Danish history.
The queen we have today, Queen Margaret II, is actually related to Gorm and Harald Bluetooth. So it's the same royal family that's been the kings and queens in Denmark from Viking age till today. What we partly know, at least, is that Gorm, the first official king of Denmark because of his runestone, we suspect that he comes from somewhere outside of the country. He might have been coming from Norway, he might have been coming from Normandy, or he might have been coming from England.
A woman called Thyra is mentioned on the two Jelling Stones as the mother of Harald Bluetooth and the wife of Gorm the Old. Here we have the name Thyra, spelled here. But there's also another Queen Thyra who's mentioned on some other runestones in this area. And it's been a discussion, who is she? Is that the same woman?
This scanner can bring forward things we can't see with our own eyes. In the middle of the scanner there are a laser sensor, and the beams are bouncing on the surface we are scanning, and it will captured by these two cameras and bring forward a 3D model.
It is a very old thought that we should be able to recognize the rune covers by the grooves, but it couldn't be investigated really before we have the 3D scanning techniques. From each rune, I have a cross-section every millimeter. When an individual learns a handicraft, you develop your personal patterns of movement. The carver has his or her own cutting rhythm. It is the same thing as in handwriting.
The motor skills that we discover on the basis of the 3D scannings are unique for each rune carver. So this is where you can see the stroke of the chisel. There's one deep stroke followed by two not so deep ones. You can almost hear the stroke of the chisel like duck, 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 duck. This is the Læborg stone. Actually, it's the key to understanding the whole analysis. The technique that we have found on this particular stone is matched with the larger Jelling stones, so that we can say that the two stones have been carved by the same person, Ravnunge Tue. Here we have the name, Ravnunge Tue, carved, runes, these, after, in honor of, Thyra, his queen.
The grooves of the Læborg stone, one of the Ravnunge Tue stones, and the large Jelling stones, they overlap. They overlap completely.
All of a sudden we have a Thyra who is mentioned on at least 3, maybe even 4 or even 5 runestones, and it's the same woman. That is more runestones for this one woman than any male person has ever had, and that tells us something in itself.
Her famous son, Harald Bluetooth, is mentioned on maybe 2 runestones. Gorm is mentioned on 2 runestones, but only in connection with his wife. It opens a new chapter to our understanding of who Thyra was. Thyra must have come from a very old and very distinguished family. Of course, we don't know very much about her person, but we can say that she had huge significance for Harald's possibilities of assembling Denmark. I would say that his royal dignity was rested in Thyra's descent.
I suspect she is the main protagonist in actually developing the Jelling dynasty, because women had way more importance in old Viking society than they had in early Christianity.
We usually say that the royal line starts with Gorm the Old. Now I would rather say that the royal line started with Gorm and Thyra.